Yo, yo, yo! Huh, huh, huh. Today we're going to demonstrate how to set up Loopy Pro on iPad for quick and easy switching between different MIDI clips and instruments when using a single hardware MIDI controller, such as the fantastic ITAR, or any other controller of your choice. With this method, you don't have to worry about switching MIDI channels on your controller or diving into any complex menus within Loopy Pro. A setup like this allows you to keep the music flowing in real time as you bounce between your different MIDI clips and their corresponding instrument plugins. Using large, on-screen buttons, you'll be able to easily and instantly direct the routing of the MIDI notes played on your controller to different target instruments and layer different parts and sounds, all from that single MIDI controller, while focusing on the playing and looping. Now, if you're already a Loopy Pro and want to skip ahead to setting up the on-screen buttons, I've marked the chapters in this video for easy reference. Let's open Loopy Pro. It'll open to the last project you were working on, so you may see something different than this particular configuration. Before we go any further, I'm going to connect the ITAR by tapping the three lines in the upper right corner and then tapping Bluetooth devices. I'll hit the pairing button on the ITAR itself, then locate it in the list of devices and tap on it to connect it. And then tap Done. This process will be similar if you're using some other Bluetooth MIDI controller. Now let's create a new project by tapping the folder icon in the upper left corner and selecting New Project. By default, it creates 10 audio clips within 5 color groups. We're going to be focusing mainly on MIDI today, so I'll delete all of these audio clips for now. Tap on the pencil icon in the lower left corner and then tap on the minus symbols to delete as many rows or columns as possible. For the last remaining clip, you can tap and hold and then tap Delete. For this demo, I'll keep things simple with only 3 MIDI clips. To add MIDI clips, tap the circular icon that's second in from the bottom left. I'll tap it thrice to add 3 MIDI clips. You can tell it's a MIDI clip since the outline is dashed, whereas audio clips will have a solid outline. I want each of these clips to transmit to a separate instrument plugin. Loopy Pro routes all clips in the same color groups to the same target. In this case, a plugin synth. So let's assign these each to a different color group. Tap on the paint bucket icon in the center of the bottom of the screen. I'll make the first clip lime, the second clip blue, and the third clip magenta. You can use whatever colors you wish as long as they're all different. For this demo, we'll just use 1 MIDI clip per instrument plugin. But if you want to record multiple clips which play back into the same instrument, simply make them all the same color. Now that we have our 3 MIDI clips color-coded, tap on the mixer icon in the lower left. You'll notice we have our 3 MIDI color groups as well as an audio input. We won't be using the audio input today, so let's get it out of the way by long pressing the microphone icon and tap Delete. Now let's add 3 software synths. I'll choose from the synth plugins that are installed on this iPad, but the process is the same for any AUV3 plugin instruments you have installed on your own iPad. Tap the plus sign in the lower right of the screen and then tap on Add Audio Unit Instrument. Tap on the instrument of your choice. I'll select Overdrive Synth in this case. Next, it will ask you to select a MIDI source. At first, it might seem like we'd want to select the ITAR here, but since we'll be recording MIDI clips that play back into the synth plugins, I'm actually going to tap on the lime color group in this case. We can see that it's added a strip in the mixer for the overdrive synth, or whatever instrument plugin you've chosen on your iPad, and that a solid lime green rounded rectangle appears under Sources, indicating that any notes playing back from the lime-colored MIDI clips will be directed to the overdrive synth. Likewise, in the MIDI Colors section, the overdrive synth is listed under the destinations of the lime strip. Now let's repeat that process and add 2 more instruments. Again, I'll tap the plus symbol in the bottom right and add another audio unit instrument. I'll choose the Moog Model D, and for its MIDI source, I'll select the blue color group. Again, we see that the Model D's source is set to blue, and the blue color group's destination is set to the Model D. I'll add the final synth, this time choosing Cauldron and selecting Magenta as its MIDI source. Now I'm going to add the MIDI controller input so we can play in some notes on the ITAR. Again, I tap on the plus symbol in the bottom right and then tap on Add MIDI. I'll locate the ITAR, or you can choose whatever controller you have connected. We can see that a MIDI input strip has been added to the mixer, and under Destinations, by default, all 5 color groups are shown. This means that notes played on the ITAR are going to be simultaneously sent to all the color groups. When I play some notes, you can hear that all 3 synths are producing sound at the same time. And we can see activity on all their VU meters for their mixer channels. There may be certain instances where you do want to route the MIDI controller to multiple color groups and their corresponding clips and instruments, but we don't want to do that today. I should mention that you can also directly route a MIDI controller to an instrument plugin by tapping this plus symbol in the Destinations section and selecting the desired instrument. But doing so directly connects the MIDI controller to that instrument plugin, bypassing the MIDI clips entirely. In other words, you won't be able to record any of the performance, that is, any of the MIDI data coming out of your controller, into the MIDI clips. Though this type of routing is suitable if you're only going to be using that instrument plugin for live playing, or if you will be configuring audio clips to be capturing the audio that's coming out of those instrument plugins as an audio clip. In our case, we want to use the MIDI clips to record and layer parts. We'll still be able to hear the live MIDI input from the ITAR, since if we tap on the ITAR's entry in the Sources area for each MIDI color group, we can see that the monitor through is enabled, meaning that incoming MIDI will be passed along to the instrument that corresponds with that particular color group. With the current configuration, we could start recording MIDI into the clips, but switching between the different color groups and their associated instrument plugins would be too cumbersome for a live looping session or performance. I'll show you what I mean. If I tap on the mixer icon in the lower left, we can see the 3 MIDI clips. If I was to first record a part into the lime-colored clip, which feeds into the overdrive synth, I'll have to go into the mixer again, tap on the multicolored rectangle in the Destinations area of the MIDI input, and deactivate all the undesired color groups, leaving only the lime-colored group selected. We can hear and see that the MIDI messages coming from the ITAR are now only being routed to the lime-colored selected group and through it to the overdrive synth. We could then tap the mixer icon yet again to return to the clips to record something. If I tap on the lime clip, it turns red to indicate that it is armed. Once I start playing notes on the ITAR, the loop will start recording until I tap it again, at which point it'll start playing back. I should note that this recording and playback behavior can be changed within Loopy Pro's settings. Now, as the clip is playing back, if I want to use the ITAR to play in another layer on the Moog Model D, which I have associated with the blue color groups, I have to again call up the mixer, go into the Destinations for the MIDI input, deactivate the lime-colored group, and activate the blue-colored group. Then close the mixer again. We can then start recording into the blue clip, which plays into the Model D. I'll stop playback by hitting the pause button up top. We can see that this type of bouncing back and forth between screens and activating and deactivating the various color group destinations isn't very quick or intuitive for live performance. So we're going to set up some large on-screen buttons to easily target the desired color groups and their associated instrument plugins. Before we go any further, let's clear the notes we've recorded into these two clips. On the bottom left of the screen, tap on the small circled X icon, and then tap on the small X in the center of each of the clips. Then, once we've cleared the clips, tap on the small circled X icon in the bottom left one more time. Okay, all clear. Now let's add those buttons. Loopy Pro allows you to create customized buttons and other controls which can be configured to do all kinds of things. We want to create buttons that route the incoming MIDI from the ITAR, or your controller of choice, to the desired color group of MIDI clip and onto the instrument plugin that's connected to that group, while also disconnecting any routing that sends the incoming MIDI messages from the controller to the clips and synths you're not currently trying to play or record. Loopy Pro does include a button action to enable or disable a MIDI destination, but we want to leave all the destinations active, that is, all the synth plugins active, so that the recorded clips keep playing back into them. We just want to route the MIDI messages coming in from the ITAR or other MIDI controller. To get this to work properly, we need to add multiple instances of the same MIDI input. Once again, tap on the mixer icon in the lower left to return to the mixer screen. Hit the plus symbol in the bottom right and tap Add MIDI, and tap on the ITAR or whatever your MIDI controller is called. Repeat this procedure one more time to add another triplicate MIDI input. Now in the mixer we can see that there are 3 instances or strips for the ITAR. Next, under the Destinations section of these 3 identical inputs, we want to specify only one of the color groups. I always start by tapping on None as I make my way through the 3 inputs to clear everything, and then I'll set the first one to lime, the second one to blue, and the third one to magenta. At this point, incoming MIDI is still routed to all the instrument plugins, since there's an input strip configured for each one. But you'll note that if I tap on the S near the bottom of the strip, the input will be soloed and only one instrument will be played at a time. This solo function is what we'll be assigning to the on-screen buttons. Let's get those buttons configured so we can start jamming. Tap on the pencil icon and then the button icon, which is the 5th in from the left. It will generate a small button. Tap in empty space and swipe over to select the newly generated button, and now you can tap and drag on the corner to resize it to your liking. Tap the button icon on the bottom again to add a second button, and you'll notice it will be the same size as the previous one. Hit that button icon one more time, and now we have the 3 buttons. Let's get them set up. Tap on the first button and a list of gestures is displayed. We're not going to be swiping or long pressing any of these buttons, so just tap on the plus sign next to Press. To save time scrolling through the long list of possible actions, just type MIDI into the search field and you'll see Solo MIDI Source as the second option. First, let's set up the target, and for the first button, we want to select the first entry of the ITAR, or whatever your controller is called. Then for action, we want to select Solo. Next, tap on the second button and again tap on the plus sign next to Press. Again, type MIDI into the search field and select Solo MIDI Source. For the target, this time be sure to select the second instance of the ITAR, or your MIDI controller, and again set the action to Solo. Repeat this procedure for the third button, this time selecting the third instance of the ITAR and once again setting action to Solo. Optionally, you can color match the buttons to the colors of the MIDI clips to make it more obvious while performing and looping. Exit the edit screen by tapping the mixer icon, then tap the upper double arrows to half-size the mixer and show the clips and buttons. We can now tap on each large button and we see that the inputs corresponding to each color group are soloed or muted. This allows us to instantly target a color of clip, and we can hear the associated instrument playing only when we have it selected. Close the mixer screen to maximize the size of the clips and buttons. And let's try layering 3 parts without stopping playback or diving into any menus. To stay in time, let's activate the metronome under clock settings in the main upper right menu. When we press play, it'll ask us to set a tempo. We can tap it in. Let's also set the master clip length to 4 bars for now. We can now bounce around between the 3 color groups and their associated instrument plugins by pressing the large buttons that correspond to the same color. Here's an example of a project that's further along, featuring 4 MIDI clips, 4 looping audio clips, and 2 single-shot audio clips. Once again, we can see that there are 4 buttons, albeit smaller in this example, which can select the target of the incoming MIDI information from your MIDI controller. There's also a vibrato button that is mapped to a parameter within one of the synth plugins so that you can engage vibrato at will. Press playback. We can bounce between the different loops to change the beat, and we can engage any of the MIDI clips.